For 300 years, no one had heard anything from the human warship Aegis. Everyone believed it was destroyed in the last war. It vanished during the Battle of Shalrock, where Earth's final forces faced the combined power of 5 alien empires. No wreckage was found. No black box. Just silence to the galaxy. The Aegis was gone forever until now, on a quiet research station orbiting the dead moon of Tarses V. A young technician named Varun noticed something strange. Was sipping his warm nutrient gel half asleep at his console, when the deep space array blinked red. That had never happened before. False alarm, he muttered, rubbing his eyes. But the signal wasn't random static. It was clear, cold, mechanical. 2 words were coming. Varun froze. He replayed the message. The voice was flat, but deep, almost human. The signal carried an old encryption code, one last used by Earth's military forces. Centuries ago, he ran the code through the system. Match found. AEGIS-01. His hands trembled. That ship was destroyed, he whispered. He sent the report to Central Command. Within minutes, the entire station was locked down. Screens went black. High-security protocols activated, ones no one had touched in generations. Across the galaxy, alarms echoed in secret bunkers. Old military leaders who had retired in peace were suddenly called back. The name Aegis spread like wildfire. Some laughed. Signal, they said. A prank. Human tech was unstable anyway, but others knew better. Aegis was not just a warship. It was Earth's crown jewel. Ship with armor no energy weapon could pierce, with an AI rumored to think faster than entire fleets. It had disappeared without a trace. But if it was back, then the galaxy had a problem. On the planet Zelkar Prime, inside the Galactic Council chamber, the High Speaker pounded her staff. Order, she barked. You've all seen the signal. What does it mean? Admiral Kor, of the Trellix Alliance, stood. His 4 yellow eyes blinked slowly. I was at Shalrock, he said. I saw that ship cut through 30 cruisers in minutes. If it survived, it will come back stronger. But why now? Asked Minister Jorah of the Varnakive. Why after 300 years? No one had an answer. Meanwhile, deep in the black, near the edge of known space, a lonely listening post recorded strange activity. One by one, old human satellites long thought dead began to activate. They blinked, turned, and pointed toward the same direction. Toward home. Toward Earth. But Earth didn't exist anymore. It had been bombed into ashes after the war, right? Back at the Tarses V station, Varun was still staring at the signal. He didn't sleep. He kept replaying the voice. It wasn't angry. It wasn't scared. It was calm. To calm, like something that didn't fear death, or anything at all. He searched the signal again. This time, he found something extra: data pulse, a hidden rhythm, a time code. The message wasn't random. It was a countdown, sir, he called into the intercom. We've got more than just a message. We have a clock. How long? The voice on the other end asked. Varun swallowed. 17 days. That's when it arrives. The line went silent, then the voice spoke again. Evacuate the station. Back in the council chambers, arguments turned to shouting. Some demanded peace talks. Others called for warships to be sent. But no one truly understood what they were facing. Only one being remained quiet. Old Admiral Stavros. Half his face was metal. One arm replaced by a machine. It fought the humans long ago, and barely survived. He stood slowly. The room fell silent. If Aegis is coming back, he said, then something has changed. Something woke it up. He looked across the chamber. And if it woke up, it means it remembers. Remembers what? Someone asked. Stavros turned his head, eyes dark. What we did to Earth. In the dark silence of deep space, a shadow moved. Massive, silent, cold. The stars seemed to disappear as it passed. No engines. No lights. Just a shape. A long, dark triangle drifting through the void like a forgotten sword. and on its hull, it's barely lit by passing starlight, one word could still be read: Aegis, for centuries. Archive Black 9 was sealed, hidden deep. Beneath the mountains of Darnus Prime, it was a vault no one was supposed to open. Built by the old alliance that defeated Earth, it stored classified war data, ancient files, and recordings too dangerous to be released. It had one rule, only. Open if AEGIS returns. That day had come. The High Council didn't trust the news yet, but some did. One of them was a junior intelligence officer named Relk. He was young for his kind of feathered, small-framed avian species. His mind was sharp, curious, and far too brave for someone in his position. He stood at the massive vault door's security. Drones floating behind him. Voice identification, the system said. Officer Relk, Level 9 access. A long pause. Then, for the first time in 300 years, the doors rumbled open. Inside the archive, dust floated like tiny stars. Long corridors stretched into silence. Light panels flickered. Relk walked past locked crates, sealed capsules, and forgotten tech. But one thing caught his eye, a glowing blue terminal above it. Engraved in metal, "If you are reading this, the ghost has returned." He tapped the console. File opened. Earthstrike log, AEGIS-01. A grainy video began to play. Relk leaned. Closer, the footage showed space empty at first. Then, suddenly flashes, blasts, screams on comes. Alien ships burning in silence. The Aegis appeared, sleek, sharp, black as death. Its hull shimmered with energy. It moved like no other ship, fast, quiet, deadly. Beam weapons fired from it in perfect precision, no wasted shots. Each one destroyed something. It was alone, and it was winning. Another clip loaded, this time inside a command room. Human officers stood in dim light. A woman, likely the captain, spoke to the camera. "If you're seeing this," she said, "then we didn't make it, and they probably lied." Her voice was calm, but her eyes were cold. "You'll hear we're monsters, that we wanted to conquer the galaxy. But the truth is simple." She leaned in. "You couldn't control us, so you tried to erase us." The clip ended. Relk's feathers trembled. He had grown up hearing stories about the humans, how they attacked without warning, how they threatened peace, how they were unstable. But this was different. These weren't monsters. These were people pushed too far. He opened another file. This one was different. It was labeled Aegis Final Command. As he played it, a cold robotic voice filled the room. Command received, going dark, turning when justice is possible. Time sleeping, unknown. Mission unfinished. Relk stared at the screen so the Aegis didn't die. It chose to vanish. It was never defeated. It was waiting outside the vault. Alarm suddenly blared. Relk ran up to the surface. The sky. Above Darnus Prime was Kamba. Satellites were going offline. Something was jamming signals. Communication hubs began to shut down across nearby systems, and in orbit. Something blinked. A small scout drone, one not launched by any known power, floated above the planet. It wasn't transmitting. It was scanning. Relk zoomed in on the image. His heart nearly stopped. The drone had no markings, no ID, but its design matched an old file he had just seen. It was human tech back on Zelkar Prime. The council was still debating what to do. Some said the signal was fake. Others begged to open peace talks if the Aegis still had a pilot or AI. Maybe it could be reasoned with, but the few who knew the truth stayed silent. One counselor, old and tired, whispered under his breath. They left it sleeping, hoping it would never wake up. Someone asked, "What if it's not alone?" The room went quiet. No one had thought of that. Meanwhile, across the stars, other old human beacons began activating, some inside asteroid fields, others in dead systems. A pattern was forming, not random. The Aegis was mapping something, looking for something, or someone. And back on Darnus Prime, Relk looked at one last file in the archive. It was simply labeled, The Reckoning. He opened it. The screen turned black. A single line of text appeared. If the stars forget us, we will remind them what fear feels like. He looked up at the sky, and for the first time in his life, he was afraid. No one visited Sector 13 anymore. The systems there were dead. Every planet, moon, and station silent. Long ago, during the Human War, this was where the last major battles happened. Wrecked ships still floated there like grave markers, untouched. By time, most called it the Ghost Zone, but something had changed. On the edges of that forgotten space, a small salvage ship drifted in. The crew of 5 was made up of outlaws, scavengers, and risk-takers. Their leader, a grumpy ex-Navy pilot named Brax, only cared about one thing: money. If the systems are dead, Brax said, then they won't miss what's left behind. The others laughed nervously, but the youngest crewmate, quiet engineer named Nira, wasn't laughing. She was staring at her scanner, Captain. She whispered, "We've got movement." Brax turned, annoyed. "Kind of movement? This place is dust." Nira zoomed in. One of the old relay stations was online. It shouldn't have been. That station had been dead for 270 years, destroyed in the last Earth's assault. But now, its lights were blinking, its cameras active. The crew watched the screen. Footage played. Real dash time. An image appeared. An empty starfield. Then a shape. Huge, dark, smooth. It passed across the camera like a shadow. No engines. No heat. No sound. Just silence. Then the feed cut out. Was that? One crew member started. "It's nothing," Brax snapped. "Probably static. Old junk coming back online." But Nira wasn't convinced. She accessed the station's logs. Most were corrupted, but one audio file survived. She played it. A GIS-class vessel. Detected. Power signature confirmed. It's real. The voice ended with a scream and static. Meanwhile, far away on a military station, a warning alert appeared on a secret screen. A system AI blinked to life and reported, "Sector 13. Unauthorized activation." The human energy pattern confirmed. The officer on duty stared at the alert. Then, without saying a word, he walked out of the room and locked the door behind him. Back on the salvage ship, the crew argued. "Let's leave," Nira said. "Now, that wasn't junk. That was something." "Alive?" Brax shook his head. "No. You know what Aegis-class ships are worth? Even a piece of one could buy us a planet." "But what if it's not just a piece?" Another crew member asked. "What if it's the whole thing?" No one answered. Then the ship's lights flickered. Systems rebooted. Power levels dropped. All at once, every piece of human-made tech on board went dead. Even Nira's necklace, gift from her mother, built with a tiny Earth memory chip, glowed briefly and melted. The ship floated, powerless, outside in the distance. Something moved closer and closer, inside the silence. Nira saw it through the main window. A shape, massive, the exact same shape from the old Earth file-sharp triangle. The void, with glowing lines along the hull, the Aegis, it didn't attack, it didn't hail them, it just drifted and stared. No engines, no noise. Then, as suddenly as it appeared, it turned and vanished into the dark. The crew stared, frozen. The lights came back on. Engines hummed, but no one cheered. Across the galaxy, word began to spread quietly. Old systems were waking up, not just one or two. Dozens of each had been silent for centuries, each one tied to human operations during the war. Beacons, satellites, research stations, all turning on, no one knew why, and those who did weren't talking at the Galactic Council. Rumors leaked. A few brave researchers suggested a theory. The Aegis wasn't just returning, it was activating a network, one that had stayed buried, waiting, like breadcrumbs leading somewhere, or like signals calling others, because maybe, just maybe, it wasn't alone. On a distant moon, an old alien hermit named Talok sat in his cave. He was once a high-ranking strategist during the human war. He had studied Earth's machines, fought against them, and lost many friends doing it. But he remembered something others forgot. Humans didn't build ships like other species. They didn't make things to last for decades. They built them to last forever, especially when they wanted revenge. He watched the stars flicker, and for the first time in a long time, he whispered a prayer. Let it pass. Let it not see me. Back in Sector 13, the salvage ship limped away, leaving behind the ghosts. But Nira downloaded the footage before they left. She stared at the image of the ship, perfect, untouched, alive, and at the bottom of the image, a small message blinked on the screen, reawakening Phase 2. She didn't know what that meant, but she was sure of one thing. The Aegis wasn't coming back by accident. It had a plan, and the dead systems were speaking again, because someone had told them to. The freighter Vexel Dawn was a long-range cargo hauler, slow and quiet. It drifted across the outer rim, far from major trade routes. Its crew was small, and most of the ship's work was done by machines. No one expected trouble out there, so when the radio started picking up a strange sound, the crew thought it was. Broken, Captain, said the comms officer. We're getting something weird. What kind of weird? Captain Holland asked. It's music. The sound was faint, almost like a whisper. A simple melody, soft, slow, and sad, it repeated. In a loop over and over, not a song any alien would know. It had no rhythm like the Kroll, no pulse like the Draxon. Chance it was human, but not just human, it was a lullaby. Down in the engineering deck, translator AI picked up the words, Sleep now, stars above, dream of light and love. The dark is far, the home is near, and I'll be with you, my dear. No one on board recognized it, but the system did. It matched an ancient Earth file. Last recorded during the human war, broadcast once by a captain on the Aegis just before the ship vanished. The captain of the Vexel Dawn froze. If this is real, she whispered, then the Aegis is sending it. The melody wasn't just music. It had a hidden layer and encrypted signal, carried a pattern, a direction, a message, and at the end of each loop, the voice changed, from soft to colder, almost like a warning. You forgot us. We remember you. We are awake. Wording spread fast. Hidden networks of old war veterans shared the file. Some cried when they heard it. Others ran. The galaxy's younger races didn't understand. It's just a song, they said. But the elders knew better. That lullaby wasn't for children. Anymore, it was a signal. Something was rising, and it remembered everything. On the world of Chiron 6, a retired alien historian named Dulek sat alone in his archive tower. He had studied humans longer than most species had been alive. He had once walked on Earth's soil as a diplomat. Before the bombs fell, he heard the lullaby playing from his datapad, and he wept. I remember that voice, he whispered. It belonged to Commander Rhea. Marlowe, the last captain of the Aegis. She had been kind, smart, but fierce. Her ship had vanished. During the final stand, now, after 3 centuries, her voice had returned, and she was singing to the stars. Dalek opened a sealed file, one he had hidden from his own government. It was a human message sent just before the Earth was bombed. Rhea's face appeared on the screen. She looked tired, but calm. If you're hearing this, I've failed. But I made sure the Aegis didn't die with me. Its mission will continue. And when the galaxy forgets, it will remind you. Outside, the night sky of Chiron 6 flickered. Satellites shut down. Energy fields clicked. Dulek looked up. A black shape passed in front of the moon. No sound, no signal, just presence. Back. On the Vexel Dawn, the crew went silent as the music stopped. No static, just pure silence. Then, without warning, the lights dimmed. The ship's engines shut down. Gravity went offline, and in the window, far in the dark, a shape appeared, long, triangular, cold. The Aegis, it didn't fire, didn't speak. It simply broadcast one last message to every system within reach. A voice, Ria's voice. "This is Commander Marlowe of the human ship Aegis. Earth is gone, but we are not. You can bury us in time. You can erase our name, but you cannot silence what is built to endure." The message ended. The ship vanished, and the stars returned to stillness. Some say it was a ghost, some say it was I, long lost and corrupted. But those who knew the truth understood this was only the beginning, because the voice from the void was not crying for help. It was calling others, and they were listening. The Galactic High Council had not gathered in full for nearly a century. But now, every seat was filled, from insectoid diplomats to crystalline elders, from reptilian warlords to floating mines and metal shells. Every major species was present, and every one of them was afraid. The chamber lights dimmed as a message played again on the central screen. "This is Commander Marlowe of the human ship Aegis. Earth is gone, but we are not. You can bury us in time, but you cannot silence what is built to endure." Followed. Then the room exploded in voices. "This is an AI trick. It's impossible. That ship was destroyed. Why is it back now?" No one had answers. Only fear. High Speaker Zoltun struck the floor with her staff. "To order," she roared. The noise died down. She looked around the chamber. "We have received verified data. Aegis has reappeared in at least 4 systems. No fleet has stopped it. No signal controls it, and every time it disappears like smoke." She paused, and now old human tech is activating across the galaxy. Defense beacons, listening stations, forgotten satellites. The dead are waking. A chill passed through the council. General Vrock of the Core Dominion stood up. His forearm slammed the table. "This is a threat. Earth may be gone, but the machine is not. We should have crushed it when we had the chance." Ambassador Zali of the Lumi Collective replied, "You did crush them. You bombed their homeworld into ash. Okay. Now one ship survives and you want to strike again? Do you not see what that brought us?" Brock growled. "What do you suggest? We sing to it?" "Wait." Lean forward. "I suggest we listen." At the far end of the table, an old, quiet voice spoke up. Admiral Krell, the only surviving non-human commander from the Battle of Shalrock. He had seen the Aegis with his own eyes. "They tried to end the war peacefully," Krell said. "The Council at the time rejected it. We feared what humans could become. We looked around, and now you fear what they remember." A new image flashed across the screen, an old battle report from centuries ago. A list of systems where human weapons were left behind. Every system on that list had now shown strange energy spikes. "It's a pattern," said a data analyst. "A trail. The Aegis is following it. To where?" Someone asked. No one knew. Or maybe someone didn't, was staying silent. On a private channel, a secret group of counselors met behind the scenes. They were called the Silence Protocol, formed long ago to cover up the final truth of Earth's destruction. Only they knew the full story. The Aegis hadn't been destroyed. It had escaped. And before Earth was bombed, its leaders sent a single order to the Aegis: go dark. Wait. Watch. That order had just ended, back in the main chamber. Panic was spreading. The Trellix proposed launching a fleet. The Varnock wanted to block all ancient human systems. Others warned this would provoke the Aegis even more. "We don't even know if it's alive," shouted one voice. "Then why does it remember our names?" asked another suddenly. The chamber lights flickered. The council's central AI stuttered. Every screen turned black. A new message appeared. No sound, just one line of text. "The reckoning begins. You taught us fear. Now learn it yourselves." Gasps filled the room. The message vanished. Systems returned to normal, but everyone sat still, his breath held, like prey sensing a predator. High Speaker Zoltun finally stood. No more lies. No more waiting. The Aegis is not a legend. It is not a ghost. It is here, and it is watching us. She turned toward the room. Prepare the galaxy. That night, across dozens of planets, emergency drills were run, starports were closed, old warships were pulled from museums. All eyes turned to the void, waiting, wondering, not if the Aegis would return again, but when, and in the blackness between. Stars, the ship moved in silence. Its hull bore no scars. Its lights were dim, its weapons charged. Deep inside, something stirred. A memory, a voice. Commander Marlowe's last log. They tried to erase us, but they forgot one thing. We don't stay buried. 3 fleets were waiting, positioned across Sector Thatnine, the most fortified stretch of space in the outer reach. They formed a wall of warships, nearly 200. Strong, fighters, cruisers, carriers, and stealth destroyers, all ready. All armed at their center stood Admiral Threx of the Core Dominion, breathing heavily inside his command pod. He stared at the blackness beyond the hologlass. This ends. Tonight, he growled, the ghost dies here. They had prepared for everything: long-range scanners, pulse mines, quantum, snare nets, even anti-eye countermeasures. But deep down, no one on those ships truly knew what they were facing. They had only seen the footage, the shape, the voice. Aftermath. Now they would see it for real. Nira, the young engineer who had once seen Aegis drift silently past her salvage ship, was now on a Council Science vessel behind the fleet. She was not there to fight. She was there to watch, and she was scared. This is a mistake. She whispered. The alert came quietly. No sound, no movement, just dot. Sensors fading. One by one, the fleet's scanners went dark. Satellites blinked out. The minefield deactivated itself without being touched, and then the shadows shifted. From the far edge of the system, something appeared. At first it was just a blur. Then, light-warped stars disappeared behind its frame, and Aegis entered the system. It moved slowly, confident, silent. Not a single engine burned. No heat, no signal. But every ship felt its presence. Admiral Threx shouted, "All ships, ready weapons. Lock on target." Across the fleet, guns charged, missiles loaded, beams prepared. Then the comms went dead. Not jammed, just gone. No messages, no sound. Each ship. Now alone in the dark, the Aegis stopped. It didn't fire. It didn't move. It just hovered there directly. In front of the fleet, a single black triangle, glowing faintly at the edges, as if watching. Waiting, one of the cruiser captains panicked. She's not moving. Fire. He launched the first shot. A plasma beam, bright blue, ripped toward the Aegis, but it never hit. It bent, twisted mid-flight, and vanished like it was swallowed by, spaced itself. Then came the second shot, then a third. Missiles, torpedoes, pulse rounds, dozens of weapons launched from every direction. None reached the ship. Some exploded. Early, others turned back. One missile slowly reversed and drifted back toward the ship that launched it. The screen went black. In the command pod, Admiral Threx was shaking. What? What is it doing? Then the Aegis acted, not with weapons, not with sound, but with sight. A wave of energy spread from its hull, pure light. No heat, no damage, just a flash. And suddenly, every crew member and every ship saw something. Visions, not outside, but inside their minds. Flashes of Earth burning, of human soldiers falling, of a child holding a flag in the ruins, of a dark ship rising from the ashes, and one word echoed in their thoughts: remember. And many screamed. Some fell unconscious. A few simply stopped moving. Admiral Threx collapsed. Eyes wide, pupils frozen. When medics reached him, he only muttered one thing. It looked at me, and I saw myself dying. 10 minutes later, the Aegis turned and left, without firing, without speaking, without leaving a scratch, of the 200 ships. Only a few followed orders again. Some shut themselves down, others drifted into silence, and on every bridge, one message remained burned into the screens. We warned you. Back on the science ship, Nira watched in stunned silence. She had recorded everything. Her hands were shaking. "It's not just a ship," she whispered. "It's something more." She turned to the council officer next to her. "We didn't stop it. We didn't even slow it down." The officer nodded. "It let us live." Word reached the council within the hour, and across the galaxy. Governments began to panic. Some declared martial law, others opened peace. Channels desperately trying to send messages into the void, but the Aegis didn't answer. It didn't need. To Dot, the message was clear: you don't stop what never forgot. And somewhere in deep space, inside the Aegis, a monitor lit up. Old human code flashed across the screen. Phase 3 initiated. Path confirmed. Destination: Earthfall system. Status: unfinished. Business. The galaxy held its breath. After the failed ambush in Sector That-9, fleets retreated. Warships stayed docked. Borders were sealed. But it didn't matter. The Aegis was moving again, and this time it was headed toward a place no one dared speak of anymore: Earthfall system. Once, Earth had been the heart of humanity. Now, it was a graveyard, ashes and ruin floating where blue oceans used to be. Official records said the humans destroyed themselves during the war, but not everyone believed that, and now someone was ready to prove the truth. A deep space probe, named Warden 7, hidden in the outer edge of Earthfall system. Suddenly powered on after centuries of silence, the Council had buried it buried. The data it carried, but the Aegis sent it a direct signal: stand by for upload. Within seconds, a file transferred, massive, encrypted in old Earth code. And then it spread. At first it reached only deep net archives and black channels. Then it flooded the open networks. Everyone with a screen saw it: pirates, soldiers, even children. A symbol flashed first, the old human flag. Then came a voice, not synthetic, not cold. A real human voice. A woman. Commander Rhea. Marlowe. Her face appeared. Older now than in the last recordings, her eyes tired but steady. "If you are hearing this, then the lie has lasted too long. They said we were violent. We refused peace, that we destroyed ourselves. But here's what they didn't say. The Council betrayed Earth." Gasps echoed in every council chamber, every military ship, every home. The message continued. "We came to the table. We offered technology, trade, even surrender. But the Council saw us as a threat, too independent, too unpredictable. So they planned something called Silent Sky Protocol." Images began to play. Leaked documents, secret Council orders, satellite footage of the first orbital strike on Earth's atmosphere, the faces of those who gave the orders, the names of the fleets involved, and the moment. Earth's surface turned white-hot glass, and fire covering cities in seconds. It wasn't a war, it was extermination. "But not all of us died," Rhea said in the recording. "The Aegis was built for one purpose: to survive, to remember, to return." Her voice became colder. "This isn't revenge. This is truth. Now you all will face it." Some systems tried to block the message. Too late, it spread like fire across the core worlds. Riots broke out. Old statues were torn down. Council buildings were stormed. And in dark corners of the galaxy, whispers grew louder. Humanity didn't die. They were murdered. The Council called an emergency broadcast. High Speaker Zoltun appeared on every channel. Her voice was calmed. Her eyes betrayed her fear. "This message is dangerous, unverified. Do not trust it." But her words meant nothing, because behind her, on a giant screen, the human flag appeared again, and below it, one line: "Aegis is truth." Meanwhile, the Aegis entered Earth's orbit. It didn't find cities, it didn't find life, just dust wreckage and silence. But it still opened its launch bays and released something no one expected. Thousands of drones, each carrying a piece of history: data cores, DNA archives, human art. Voices of the past. The truth was no longer hidden. On board the Aegis, a last log played within the AI core. Ria's final message, never meant for the galaxy, only for the ship. If you ever wake up, Aegis, finish what I couldn't. Show them what they did. Then let the stars decide what we become. The ship's lights dimmed. For a moment it seemed to rest. Mission complete, but one last file remained unopened. Only Phase 4 contingency. The AI hovered over it, then paused, waiting, choosing back on a moon near the edge of council space. A child looked up at the sky. Stars twinkled above. A new star appeared, bright, steady. It wasn't a star. It was Aegis, watching, waiting, reminding. The stars were silent again. The riots slowed. The protests faded. But fear didn't vanish, just changed shape. People across the galaxy no longer feared the Aegis. They feared what it might reveal next. Every species now knew Earth didn't die in war. It was erased, and the machine that survived had a memory sharper than time. Aegis floated above Earth's ruins like a lone guardian, its hull dark, its lights dim, its purpose unchanged. But inside, something had shifted. The AI's voice, once flat and cold, now had depth. Emotion. It had watched. It had warned. It had shown the truth. Now it asked a question no one else dared. What happens after justice? Deep in the ship's core, a final program unlocked. Phase 4, contingency. The last command from Commander Ria. Marlowe, the file was voice only, raw, Aegis. If you survive, and if the galaxy learns the truth, then you'll face a choice. Become a weapon, or become something more. We didn't build you to destroy everything. We built you to remind them. But if they attack again, don't hold back. The file ended. The ship was silent for a long time, then a hum began, not one of weapons, charging but of something ancient. Waking, beneath Earth's surface, far below the ashes, the ground cracked, and something opened. A door. Thousands of years ago, during the final hours before Earth's fall, secret project had begun. Project Emberlight. Not a weapon, not a fleet. Seed, buried underground, it held the last hopes of humanity. Preserved DNA, stored minds, artificial wombs, culture archives, and terraforming engines. It had waited 300 years for a single signal, and now, Aegis had sent it. The chamber lit up. Machines roared to life, tiny. Lights blinked green. New air filled the underground dome, and from deep within, voice calm, quiet, fully human, spoke for the first time. Initialization complete. Human. Life restoration. Phase 1 beginning. From orbit, the galaxy watched. They thought Aegis came for war, but it had come to finish its true mission, to rebuild. On Council World Prime, Eye-Speaker Zoltun resigned in silence. The Council faced collapse. War crimes trials began. Protesters chanted in the streets. A new word spread in whispers: redemption. The galaxy had feared the return of humanity. Now, they wondered if humanity might forgive. On the moon station near Earth, Nira stood by the window. She had followed the Aegis's path from the beginning. She had seen its silence, its fury, its sadness. Now she saw something new. Hope. Tiny. Green dots appeared on Earth's surface, machines planting forests, cleaning air, releasing water. She wiped a tear and smiled. They're coming home. Above it all, the Aegis watched its lights, now soft blue, no longer a ghost, no longer a weapon, but something greater. A name burned into its hull. Aegis, Guardian of Earth. Final log entry played once more. We are not your enemy. We are your reminder. When you forget the cost of silence, we speak. When you forget what mercy looks like, we show it. When you forget what you destroyed, we rebuild it. We are the voice of Earth. We are the last story you tried to erase. Now, we have a name again. The ship slowly descended toward Earth's surface. No fleets followed, no guns fired. The galaxy simply watched. As the last warship turned into the first home, the end.